Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here for today's daily medicine transmission for February 17th, 2021. And the title of this transmission today, not only do we have the Saturn in a square to Uranus exact today, the moon in a conjunction with Uranus. Thank God. I'm so grateful for that. But it is the fall of the Draco. I have some very interesting things to share with you today. The transmission of this intuitive read is really showing us where things could go if we do not align with that inner work. That has been the message over and over and over. So we're going to talk about some sidereal astrology, just a little bit, some fixed stars. We're going to talk about the Draco star seeds and how we can, it's time to come front and center. And the thing about the Draco star seeds and the Anunnaki is that these are powerful traits, and if we can integrate that shadow into us, it's a powerful position to be in, and it's really up to the Draco starseeds right now to come forward. So if you're interested in understanding your starseed traits, that's something that we can figure out and work on together. You can go to catalystenergies.net, book the beginner starseed package that is under the services tab. You can find all of that information in the description box below. We take evolutionary astrology, we use the star seed mapping, and we figure out where you've been and why you're here, and we come up with some direction here for your life. And understanding these starseed traits really gives a depth to the astrology reading that is been so powerful and activating with just about every single client I've worked on. So you can check out the testimonials too if you want to get an idea of where we're going. So we are at the last degree of the sun in Aquarius today. There is a lot of support here today for what we are about to embark upon. Now, Saturn and Uranus, these are larger planets with longer cycles. Saturn takes 28 years to move around in a full rotation around the sun. Uranus takes about 84 years to go in a full rotation. So even though the conjunction is exact today, their interaction with each other is going to reverberate out for more than just today. This is something that is going to reach its climax today, but will then dissipate over time, but will still be something that we will feel. And nothing can stop what is coming. And Saturn in Aquarius has been pretty clear about that, that there is a very clear foundation, there is structure, there is crystallization of this movement into the age of Aquarius. We're going to talk about the precession of the equinoxes, how that is directly related to the Draco constellation, the Draco starseed trait, and the Anunnaki, because we are coming out of a cycle and into a new one. And for those who have not done the work of integrating this part of themselves, especially the Dracos and the Draco starseeds, there will be a clinging to the old that will inevitably make this whole transition a lot more difficult and painful. And Saturn squaring Uranus is not going to be easy for anyone. It is going to be frustrating as all hell. And thankfully, it's here because it is going to trigger a lot of people to wake up where they have not been able to do so yet. And this is what this is all about. This is a process. This is a journey. Mercury is coming to a standstill and is going to move direct on the 20th. So it is now coming to a halt in the degree that is going to move direct. And we are really taking these last couple days to review what it means that we are all on a different level on our own personal journey up the ladder, right? There is the stairway to heaven. We are all equal in God's eyes, but we are all on our own personal journey. And when we can wrap our minds around that, then compassion and forgiveness and universal love are a lot easier to plug into. The sun is about to move into Pisces tomorrow. So we're at the last day of Aquarius with the sun until things become a lot more feeling based, and a lot less mental in terms of how we are going to express ourselves. So let's look at the chart just to kind of get an idea here, a visual of where we're at, and then we'll get into some of the starseed stuff and some astronomy. So as I said, last degree of Aquarius, you know, this is this moment where it's the conscious totality of being, okay? This is a symbol of spiritual group fulfillment. So a lot has culminated at this point, and it allows for us to keep an open mind and a deep feeling for self-transcendence. And if you think about it in terms of light can exist as a particle, each photon is its own little packet of energy, but it also moves in a wave. This is the best way to characterize this last degree of Aquarius, that we are all little photons, little packets of energy, but we're moving in this wave function together. And when we move, the sun moves into Pisces, we will be fully immersed in the wave function, and we will not really be able to express ourselves as fully in the wave that we are all individual photons within this wave of light. We will become the wave, and it will be a little bit more difficult to separate ourselves emotionally from everything else within this wave. And this is why it's so important that we've been doing this inner work. And the transmission that I'm giving, that came with the intuitive message today, shows us what to expect if we have not been. There's no doubt that it's been rough. We're exhausted, we're frustrated, we are kind of coming to the end of our rope. Many people are continuing to do deep shadow work. We're bumping up against stuff that is deep, that is triggering us to to every corner of our being, and is kind of unavoidable at this point. So thankfully we have the moon in Taurus. So let's talk about that. So there is the square, as you can see here, the square from Uranus and Taurus, being able to expect and imagine the expectable conditions. We know that there is a cycle to the natural world, and we can expect it. And Taurus is about survival. For as much as it is about our resources and the material world and the earth and the soil, it is about survival. It is about the seed surviving that time in the soil in order to germinate and then sprout, which is where Gemini is going to come into effect. So there is a lot of survival energy that is continuing to be part of our reality, especially with Mars here. Okay, so Uranus, the path of our awakening it's been disruptive, and survival has been something that we are dealing with, and these disruptions in our material world are making that fairly obvious. We can see even right now in a lot of the southern United States, especially Texas, there are millions of people without power and having to go to extreme measures just to keep themselves warm, because they don't have access to the power that they need in order to stay warm. And there's a lot of elements about that we could talk about, but the important thing to consider is that the disruptions and the lack of security in our physical and material environment with Uranus here, it's like we should be expecting certain conditions to arise as a result of how we've interacted with the material environment and what we've seen so far. When Uranus went direct, it was much more in a subconscious way, like we were leaving the space open in order for our, to see what was coming. Now it's about really, we know what's coming. It's like having your sled before the snow falls every year, right? The idea is that the snow is going to fall, and we have all of the implements and the tools ready to engage with that type of environment. So, but it's not easy, and it's been consistently up and down and all around. And in this square to Saturn today, again, the frustration is high because Saturn is about the crystallization, and it is the crystallization of the forms and the future we're headed to. But it's not quite there yet. It's mental archetypes that we are able to see and that provide some type of example for where we're going, but it's not fully formed yet. These are wax figures in beautiful clothing. They're not real. They're just showing us the potential of where we're going, but they're not in form yet. And that is the other thing about Saturn. That is what's crystallized. We aren't there yet, but nothing can stop what is coming. That is the whole point of the precession of the equinoxes, and that's going to come right around to this talk about the Draco in just a little bit. So the square today is really testing us, is going to show us that despite seeing where we're going, being able to have our imagination focus there to see examples, mental archetypes, we're still not there. And that is really frustrating, and it's very draining. We'll see in the intuitive read that is the energy coming into the moment, is this frustration and just being totally emotionally drained from the situation. Like I said, Mercury at a standstill today in Aquarius, Jupiter in Aquarius, that barometer, again, there's a lot of being able to anticipate what's coming based on our ability to engage with the natural world. Venus giving us the resiliency in the face of adversity today. In inner material world, and being really sensitive to those things. Mars in the last decan of Taurus, which is, this is the white dove over the troubled waters, right? Like, again, there's a lot of help and support to show us where we're going. There's a lot of this movement forward, and there's a lot of being able to see into where we are going while still having to live in the world of survival with Taurus. But there are signs, there are synchronicities, there are omens, there are things that we have the option of engaging with if we just have the eyes to see and to hold the line and to be willing to have our faith be unshakable despite the shaking of Uranus in Taurus, okay? Our resources, the material environment, all the aspects of the world around us that are just not settled, right? And Saturn is like, yes, we see where we're going. This is the archetype, these mental forms, but they are not real yet. This is just giving us a mental perspective and crystallizing that into form. Ooh, it's going to be rough today. And if we've not been doing the work, again, the clinging to what has been is really the expectable outcome as well. So, the good thing is that moon in Taurus, the moon is exalted in Taurus. It is not home, but feels at home. And so is going to be, of course, squaring Saturn as well. And of course, squaring Mercury as well. But what it's going to do is also meet with Uranus. And this is a great segue now into some of this sidereal and fixed star astrology. So, where Uranus has been at this 7 to 8 degrees of Taurus, this is a Draco starseed marking, okay? So let's talk about the Draco, because this was the thumbnail, is the constellation Draco, the serpent, the dragon, directly connected to the Anunnaki, right? The reptilians. So dragons, they are on a trajectory, right? They are incredibly penetrating and analytical. The reptilian and Draco starseeds, artistic, emotional. When you think about the reptilian mind, that is a colloquialism for the limbic system, and that reptilian part of the brain, the lizard part of the brain that is all instinct and survival and deep emotion. It's not even something that we are able to we have to go deep in order to connect to it. We don't act out of this place consciously at all. And so there's a survival mode here. And Black Moon Lilith, you're not going to see it on this chart, but is also splitting the difference here between Uranus and Mars in Taurus. Again, that dark that dark reptilian aspect of us that is survival. And she's in the sign of survival, material survival. There is a lot here that has to do with survival. And the Draco starseed traits, are incredibly powerful, and they go for what they want. And again, like I said, artistic and emotional and passionate, penetrating, right? The dragon goes for the treasure and then uses every ounce of its being to protect it as well. So there is an incredible amount of power that can be used here. And this is why I'm saying that the Draco starseeds are rising right now, because if you are able to harness this and integrate your shadow aspect, these are the people that really get things done, right? They get things done, and they're very strategic and cunning, and there are a lot of really negative aspects about it as well. And that's why when you don't integrate your shadow and you don't become a whole person, when you have this and it's a very small window, right? It's one tiny marking in the chart that you have that shows it, but it is powerful. Now, with the moon and Uranus. Now, here's the other thing. So the fixed star that Uranus is sitting at, fixed star Hamal, right? It's in the Aries constellation. It's in the head of the ram, okay? Headstrong, aggressive. We got this Saturn and Mars energy all over this, okay? Saturn and Mars, the warrior, and then the patriarch, right? This is powerful and confident, and a leader, an aggressive leader, and will go for what it wants. And Draco, the constellation of Draco, again, has that Saturn and Mars component. Woo. So Uranus has been sitting at this point, this fixed star of Hamal now, that again, headstrong and aggressive. Well, when Uranus is there, there's nothing headstrong and aggressive at all. In fact, it's very pleasant and sensitive, right? This is the ruler of Aquarius, right? Strong passions, many friends. There is nothing aggressive or headstrong with Uranus, because this is about the Aquarian archetype. This is about the collective nature, cosmic coherence. The other thing about Aquarius at this position is that it tends to have a weak nature. So it hasn't been very aggressive here. And if we are connecting positively to this Aquarian aspect, it kind of tempers that a little bit. So it's not so aggressive and headstrong. Now, with the moon also conjunct this point today, it really grounds it even more. Patience. Success through hard work, right? We come into the lunar year of the metal ox, right? Very similar in terms of Taurus. And then with the moon at this particular point, success, but through hard work and patience. And so it's a grounding force to Uranus at what is usually a very aggressive and confident and very just going after for what you want position. Okay, so those two things grounding us and maybe tempering some of this aggression with Uranus to kind of disperse it a little bit throughout the collective consciousness of Aquarius. This is really going to help ground this energy, because in a square to Saturn, which rules all of this energy, all of this Draco energy, all of this, Hamal, the head of the Aries ram, Mars and Saturn, right, coming together. It's so aggressive and it's so headstrong, and it's really about survival, and it's really about going after what you want. The death card is directly related to Draco. And if you remember, that came up yesterday. At the heart of the matter. And so this is a cycle that is in fact ending. And there will be people that'll fight tooth and nail to hold on to the old status quo as it goes away. Now, the precession of the equinoxes, I'm going to talk about that because that's directly connected. So what is that? Well, basically what happens is when the Earth rotates on its axis, just like anything that you spin, right, then eventually there's a wobble in the object itself as it spins around its axis. And that wobble takes 26,000 years to go all the way around, right? So you're looking at a yuga, right? A whole age. And so the precession of the equinoxes has finished in terms of its transition from the age of Pisces into Aquarius. Every 26,000 years, right? So now we are in this process where the precession of the equinoxes marked the beginning of the age of Aquarius. It marked the transition into this age out of Pisces. And when this happens, when it moves, when the wobble is in its process of moving, that means the position of the fixed stars relative to our position looks like it moves. And so currently Polaris is the North Star as a result. Well, in 3000 BC, right? Guess what the North Star was? Well, it was in the constellation of Draco, Thuban, which is which is the starseed marking for the Draco starseeds and is directly connected to the Anunnaki. So that their cycle and that being the North Star, right? The zenith of the destiny here on Earth, that has been ending now for a while. And Polaris is now the North Star. So as you can see, this Draco element has been ending for a while. And with the reptilian and the aggressive Saturn and Mars nature of it, holding on tooth and nail, right? Survival. They want to survive. And the Draco starseeds that have come in for this time are really, it's time to step up. And it's time to step up and do your shadow work, because it's the Draco starseeds that are going to hold the line in terms of, not even hold the line necessarily, but be able to be leaders to show how we can move forward, how we can use this element. Not everybody's going to do that. Not everybody's going to integrate the shadow. Not everybody is going to see that they have the potential to use this power for quote unquote good. And these are the people who are going to, like I said, hang on by just every inch of their being to survive something that is on its way out, and nothing can stop what's coming. And it may not be totally here yet, and that may be causing a lot of frustration with Saturn and Uranus in that square, but it is definitely on its way, and there's no stopping it. It's really about how we interact with it. So let's look at the reading, because boy, that was, it was definitely pretty obvious. So, like I said, it's been rough, right? We are exhausted. And as we can see here, okay, let's get to this. Sorry guys. There we go. There's just so many I have just so many cards open. It's really hard for me to get this. Okay. Anyway, it doesn't matter. If anything, I'll just do this a little bit. Okay. So just take a look at this here. We're going to see the Eight of Cups coming into the moment. We have the Knight of Swords, you know, the storm of the mind. It has been, we're exhausted. We're exhausted, and the delusion has lost all attraction now, and we have to just deal with the emotional reality. And all that's left is the frustration. So, and in the meridian of our power right now, it really is strongly reflecting that there's a lot of inner battles with the reflection reversed, Uriel and the Sphinx reversed. We are not doing the work. We are not getting down deep into things. Now, I'm not saying everybody. Many of us are. This is a general reading, though. And this is giving us some insight into what to expect in this, where this power meridian really is, which is the emotional compulsions are taking over. We are not really doing the work as a whole. Like, we have to get the deeper work, digging under, getting to our own Akash and understanding it is something that we are we're skipping out on, right? Because it's hard and we're exhausted, right? And we just want things to wrap up, and this is part of And this is also part of not dealing with that Draco part of ourselves either, right? Or people who have the strong Draco Anunnaki connection, not getting into that, not accepting it for what it is, not integrating the shadow and being like, this is my shadow, this is how I project it. And some people, you know, more than others. And again, Mercury in Aquarius on that staircase. We are in these last days of reviewing what that means. And some people are just in a different place and they have their own journey, right? And they've made their own contracts about what to come here to learn. And maybe it's an incredibly hard lesson. And some people won't learn it until it's too late. And like I said, they're going to be holding on to the status quo. So let's look at this one piece at a time, so we can get some good view here. So number 1, 8 of Cups, indolence. Sometimes this is considered laziness, but if you look at this, right, there's very little water. This is Saturn in Pisces. Very little water coming out of these cups, if at all. You know, it's dark in the background. The lotus flowers are drooping. There is some water here. Okay, it's not totally dry, and this is, you know, like I said, the delusion has lost all attraction, right? I mean, there has been a lot of living under this fantasy and being intoxicated emotionally by it from many, many sides, many sides. It's not just one or the other. So don't fool yourself. Everybody is in this position right now, and there's just frustration. And, you know, we're just kind of squeezing what little bit of emotion we have, but honestly, it's pretty dried out. And so we have to abandon the past and leave the current situation and open our eyes to the changes, okay? Transformation is the potential light that comes out of this card. So, but this is the energy coming into the moment, the frustration and the delusion that's lost all attraction. And this potential that we could open our eyes to the changes, but we are pretty zapped, and we're all feeling that, absolutely. So here's the storm of the mind, though, the Knight of Swords, right, bearing down the fire of the air. It's Taurus into Gemini. Now this is where Mars is going to be soon enough. Soon enough is going to come out of this. And so we can get a little bit of a preview today of what this might feel like on a mass level, because this is us right now. Always ready for a verbal war. You know, there's a lot of keen observation here. And swiftness, as you can see, and an ability to be a very skillful trickster, the Knight of Swords. There's a lot of really important qualities about this. And the mind games, though, can turn into craziness if we don't have inner reflection. And boy, oh boy, this is where many people are lacking right now. And this is why Saturn square Uranus is going to be a wake-up call for many people, and unable to decide because we're getting lost in too many theoretical variations. It's all about the mind and the storm of the mind. And it's just been so much anxiety. I know for me, I've been waking up in the middle of the night and just like laying there. I've never had that kind of anxiety before in terms of sleep. And it puts the logic and the realm of the mind ahead of everything else. And so right now, when we're exhausted and, you know, frustrated, and then we hit this, there is a lot of mental battle that's going on, that may or may not, really work in our favor. And I think that when we see where things are energetically, right? The lack of reflection reversed, the inner battle between our emotional compulsions and needs and our intuitive voice. Ooh, we're listening too much. We're overwhelmed by our emotions, which is funny because what's coming into the moment is just being exhausted emotionally. But still, that is what is determining where our mind is, where our conscious awareness is. Too much. And the astral energy, our psychic energy, gets lost when the lower emotions take over. Again, we're exhausted. We're frustrated. We have to come to terms with reality, and we don't like it. And this is many of us, many, many, many of us, especially the Dracos. They are not liking this at all right now. And if I should say us, I have this in my chart, if we have done the shadow work, if we are actually in alignment with inner reflection and have done the deep work, then we're going to be just fine in terms of this change. it's still going to be frustrating, but it's going to be way more frustrating for those who haven't. And it's time to look within. If you're struggling with this, again, it's time to look within. It's time to reflect. It's time to learn the difference between your emotional compulsions and your inner intuitive voice. There is a very drastic difference. Emotional compulsions are about survival, right? They are the monkey mind. They are feeding those emotions of anger and frustration and sadness. And I'm not saying that those in themselves are bad. It's feeding them and letting them direct our attention and our flow and taking us out of alignment with our higher self. Okay. Now, where the root of things too, here we are, Uriel and the Sphinx also reversed. We have been putting aside this deeper work and allowing the little things to start settling up on top of us. Instead of digging underneath, we are letting layers and layers keep piling up on top, right? This is things, energetic root here in the subconscious. We are not digging into the subconscious. When I say we, this is, again, a collective transmission here. We're not digging in. We're letting shit pile and pile and pile. So there's a strong tendency to slip into old emotional patterns with this because we are not getting down into, underneath, into the mysteries of who we are, into the Akash, right? This is why it's important to ask Uriel for help, the fire of God. Archangel Uriel is the fire of God. And so this transformation, this will to transformation, can really assist us. Remember, Juno, asteroid Juno, is in Sagittarius. The South Node is in Sagittarius. They're pretty much within 2 degrees, 1 degree of each other. Okay. The South Node isn't all bad. It gives us the momentum to move forward. We can use this momentum right now. We've already been there. We understand alchemy. We understand how we come to an understanding. We understand the power of our belief systems and coming to the truth. So we can use that. And asteroid Juno, she's in the sign of her husband, right? There is a responsibility and a commitment and a loyalty here to a certain extent within our relationships to do this work to propel us forward. It's not where we're headed. We're headed towards Gemini, right? The realm of the mind, the adaptability, the curiosity, the new ideas, the knowledge, the data. But we can use this fire, right, to give us momentum forward and really momentum down into ourselves. That's really where we can use this momentum right now. Remember, that is the tail of the dragon. Ooh, Dracos. We gotta step it up because if we don't, this is where we get, we just access the reptilian mind for survival, right? And holding on tooth and nail to this old status quo. And speaking of which, 2 of discs reversed. This is what to expect with all of these conditions as they are. Inability to accept change, right? Clinging to the status quo and that is about to change. Nothing can stop it, okay? It's coming. Nothing can stop it. For those people who are totally in that it's going to go back to normal phase, these people are going to be struggling the most, right? Because they are not even considering things outside of the 3rd dimensional perspective, right? People that are like, oh, this is just temporary till we get it under control. This is going to be some of the biggest people who have a wake-up call, though. So keep in mind, as a Draco starseed, for instance, you can, again, overcoming our passions to teach from deep wisdom. Remember, go back to the new moon, right? That was the new moon intention. And we're about to come to our first quarter square very soon on the 19th. So it's going to be quite the end of the week. So again, clinging to the old status quo that is changing. There's nothing about this that can stop it. It is the harmonious change. It is the cycles. The precession of the equinoxes is a huge cycle. These are cosmic cycles that we don't have any control over. We're part of it. And so we need to also be part of it as opposed to resisting it. And when we are stuck in survival mode, this is where we resist. And this is, the Dracos. Wow. It's been an interesting morning, to say the least. So let's look at some guidance for all of this wonderful stuff. Number one, the Seven of Forces, balance. Okay, balance of our mind, balance of our transformational energy. This is pretty self-explanatory. So the two aspects, the balance. I did a reading for someone yesterday, and a lot of beautiful bird imagery, butterfly imagery came out, and this person was visited by 5 eagles in the course of one walk as they were listening to the reading. The butterfly, the bird, this is the duality of the wings that are working in unison to give transcendence. So this is a way that we can think about this balance. We need to balance our emotional drives. Those are important, and also our intuitive voice, right? If we want to really deeply reflect into that subconscious realm and really get to the root of us so that we are not clinging. This is about balancing the feminine and masculine, balancing the right side and left side of the brain, balancing and working in conjunction with the 2 wings of the bird, right? They're flapping in unison or walking, right? You need to put one foot and then the other. This is about finding that balance within us. And along with that, get some mysticism, some magic, some imagination into your life. This can also help bring balance because it's really survival mode and it's intense. So get some whimsy here, get some artistic expression, get creative, get imaginative, be able to tap into where we are going. Hold the highest timeline. Get your energy into that unity consciousness state so that you can find that balance, because otherwise we're just, because Saturn in square Uranus is no joke. It's no joke. Now, when it comes to that, the Sphinx, right? We're going to do that work. That honeybee, let compassion and forgiveness be your top priority. Community, compassion, rhythm, nature, cooperation, all of these things. We're about to move into Pisces season, Sun in Pisces, right? We are going to feel the hive. It's not even going to be about mentally conceiving of it through Aquarius. We're going to feel it. We are going to be in it. We are going to be inseparable from it. And this is how, we are going to, this is why it's always such a hard time of year, because we want to shine brightly, but everything is dissolving into everything else around us, and the power feels like it's dissipating. So let compassion and forgiveness be your top priority, right? Be willing to be compassionate towards yourself and others, especially if they are starting to go into this work. Again, big wake-up call for people who aren't even conceiving of things in this way with Saturn square Uranus. Big wake-up call. So as they are maybe guided to start going into their own journey, be compassionate, right? We're all on a different step on this stairway, right? Mercury coming to a standstill in Aquarius, really reflecting on that. And along with that, add some, number 22, add some, I am here. Remember that we are attended to. We are supported. Spirit is always here. Look at this. She's, this is probably ancestral connections. Here is an angel, right? This is a person here in the flesh, bringing more information. She is also, bringing in information to herself, but she realizes, oh, I'm here. She's learning. This person's bringing, look for the signs, right? And affirm your own strength and focus in the moment as you start to go deeper into who you are if you are doing this work. Spirit is always here. God is always here, but God helps those who help themselves. And survival mode is kicking on right now, and there is strong. It's so strong. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't think I need to keep saying it, that the status quo is changing. Nothing can stop that. And it's how we decide to move with that cycle that is going to determine if we are going to cling for dear life or if we're just going to allow ourselves to melt into and dissolve into this process. And, it's hard. You don't want to lose yourself. Ego death is one of the scariest things that we all go through. That is the dark night of the soul. But Dracos are incredibly capable of this if they integrate. Once you integrate your shadow, whoo boy, you can make anything happen. So it's the fall of the Draco, and it's the rise of the Draco starseed. So that's the transmission for today. Super powerful. Really expect some serious frustration, expect some wake-up calls, expect some tension that needs to be leaned into in order to learn something with a square. And know that the moon is really assisting us, and is assisting us in that way of giving, you know, patience. Growth happens with steadiness and hard work and determination, right? It's not all going to come right away. And that is what is so frustrating with Saturn right now, is that it's still, you know, in the beginning stages of Aquarius. And the first decan of Aquarius is the Five of Swords. It's defeat, right? It is the mind having a hard time, you know, integrating into the whole. And Saturn is showing us that where we're going, but it's very definitively saying, but this is where we are. We aren't there yet. And so there's a lot to work with today, and it's just going to keep getting more interesting as the week goes on. Tomorrow, the sun goes into Pisces. The 19th, sun in Pisces square the Gemini moon, okay? Crisis in action. Then the 20th is when Mercury stations direct. So we have a lot to talk about in terms of the next week's astrology, which will be coming very soon. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being there for yourself. Thank you for taking care of the people that you love, okay? If you're interested in a reading, catalystenergies.net. There is all the services on the website. Come and join us on Telegram. Super fun over there. That's a great platform. If you're watching this on YouTube or BitChute or Rumble, please consider subscribing to this channel, hitting that like button, hitting that Rumble button. It helps get this information out there so that we can all work together in this process. And just take really good care of yourselves today. If you need support, reach out. Email's in the description box below, okay? Have a wonderful day, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Bye.